Hey everyone, it's Mystery Girl with Missy, and I'm Missy. We're going to Mackinac Island today in Michigan. I have been pronouncing this Mackinac, and I finally reached out to Shannon and said, how do I pronounce this? Because I've heard it pronounced Mackinaw, and she said that's how it is pronounced, is Mackinaw. So if I pronounce it the wrong way throughout the video, I'm sorry. I want to give a huge thank you to Shannon, also known as Shanshans, and AJ for the great video idea. I really appreciate it. I had never heard of Mackinac Island, and when you sent this to me, Shannon, and I started doing the research, oh my God, I was so blown away and couldn't believe I had never heard of it. So let me fill everybody else in on what I've learned about Mackinac Island. Throughout the video, you're also going to see questions that I had asked Shannon and AJ and their responses to the questions that I asked. And I really want to say thank you. I appreciate you guys doing that for me for the video. Okay, so I hope you're all ready for this, because Mackinac Island is a place that my paranormal friends will absolutely love, and others of you are going to need a hand to hold on to during this video. Here we go. So let's start with a little history of Mackinac Island, city of Michigan. In 1782, the Native Americans established a garrison on what they called Mackinac Island, commanded by Captain Daniel Robertson. It was home to the Native American settlers long before the European exploration began in the 17th century. Michigan legislature created the city of Mackinac Island on June 9, 1899. Now let's go back a little bit. It was established February 2nd of 1817 and became an incorporated village on March 25, 1847. And became an incorporated city by March 20th, 1900. By the 2020 census, the city of Mackinac had 583 people, 220 households, with only 120 families residing in Mackinac Island. It was established as an important fur trading center in the 18th century, and it was run by Jacob Astor. Astor died on the Titanic in 1912. Well, supposedly, Astor died on the 1812 Titanic sinking. I received this information from AJ, and I found it so interesting. A little history for you about the fort on Mackinac Island. At one point, the fort was used as a fur trading post run by John Jacob Astor. Astor died on the Titanic. So I did do some research to find out if this was accurate, and in some way it was accurate. There was a Jacob John Astor that died on the Titanic, but it was not the Jacob Astor that ran the fur trading company. It was his great-grandson. In 1822, Jacob Astor had Astor House built on Mackinac Island to be a headquarters for the recognized American Fur Company. After Astor died on March 29, 1848, as one of the wealthiest men in the United States, 16 years after his death, his namesake and great-grandson, John Jacob Astor IV, was born, and it was this Astor who died on board the Titanic in 1912. So yes, AJ, you were right in one way. It was a relative of his, and I just find that information so interesting. That I didn't even know that John Astor had a grandfather that had contributed so much to Mackinac Island. I had totally missed all of that in my research. It didn't come up. It wasn't in there anywhere. So thank you so much for providing me with that information, AJ. So after seeing how absolutely beautiful Mackinac Island is, I found it so hard to believe that it was as haunted as it's said to be. And during my research, man, did I find out this place is haunted. But it's absolutely gorgeous. Shannon had sent me some information about the actual island and how people live there. It says there is people that live there year-round that do have houses over there. Everything pretty much opens up in May around Mother's Day, and everything pretty much closes up at the end of October. So that's why I was finding out that a lot of the hotels were closed. Okay, that makes sense. That includes all the ferries. The people that do stay there year-round have to come to the mainland to shop for essential foods and stuff like that. And there is a way to travel to come to the mainland. One is by plane, 2 by snowmobile if they let the water completely freeze over, and it has to be completely frozen. Then they make the trail that comes to the mainland. That's so interesting. Wow. Thank you, Shannon. All right, back to the history of Mackinac Island. With a mostly French-speaking population of French Canadians, after the War of 1812, the city gained more Anglo-American residents. The U.S. put restrictions on Canadians for fur trading from 1818 to 1882. The city served as the county seat of the former, I'm gonna mess this word up, Mackinac County. Okay, whatever it is. It's I guess it's spelled differently. It's I guess the original name for Mackinac County, but it's got like half of the word of Michigan in front of it, so I give up. But it is, I guess, supposed to mean Mackinac, which was later organized as Mackinac County. So I give up on trying to pronounce that word. A unique local ordinance passed in 1898, which prohibits the use of any motor vehicles on the island, with the exception of emergency vehicles, city service vehicles, and snowmobiles during the winter. Now, as Shannon told us, if it's going over the water has to be completely frozen over. Shannon, thank you so much for that information. It's very helpful. The most common means of travel is either by foot, bicycle, horse, or horse-drawn carriage. I did see that a lot in the video. I saw throughout the video that I made. There's a lot of horse-drawn carriages. This ban still remains in effect till today. Mackinac Island is one of the most historic and beautiful and unique locations in the county, many say. Mackinac is only accessible by boat or small plane. I gotta tell you, it really is absolutely gorgeous. The water is stunning to look at, and just, the antiquity of it, and just even seeing the horse-drawn carriages and everything. This is like, you look at it and it's like, yes, I want to go on vacation there. But then you do your research and you're like, oh crap, where am I going to stay? Because everywhere on this island is haunted. And by the way, to my paranormal friends, a lot of the places that are in this video will not let paranormal investigation happen within the vicinity that you're at. So if you're thinking of going there to do that, you got to change your mind, or don't let them know. Just do it on the down low. But I didn't say that. But anyway, this place is absolutely stunning. And I can't wait for you guys to find out about the rest of this video, the hauntings and all the paranormal. So let's get into it. I have some questions for Shannon. So Shannon, how many times have you been to Mackinac Island? And she responded back to me. She said, I have been to Mackinac Island once a year since I was 13 years old. I would go over there with my family to hang out there. My family did that with Pennsylvania. That's so cool. Another question, how did you get to Mackinac Island? How I would get to the island is by ferry boat out of Mackinaw City. There is 3 different kinds of ferry boats you can take. One is Sheplers and 2 is Starline. The third, I don't know. I don't know if I cut it off. I'm sorry. Another question for Shannon. Since there are no cars or public transportation, how do you get around the island when you're there? Since there is no cars, how you get around is 1, horses, which you can rent, 2, bicycles, which you can rent, 3, just walk around the island, which is about 5 miles around, horse and buggies, of course. Yeah, I would imagine after seeing those pictures, it's a beautiful walk around. So guys, Mackinac Island is extremely haunted, so let's get into it. Question for Shannon. Can you feel a difference, or should I say spiritual difference, when you get to Mackinac Island? She said, you can always feel a spiritual difference when you go into different places, whether it be in the fort in how they lived, what they did day by day, how they trapped for pelts. It's like you can feel the spirits of them telling you. At times, and depending on the time, you can see them in a hazy figure when you're not paying attention. Yeah, that would kind of give me chills. It would definitely give me chills. One of Michigan's most popular tourist destinations, Mackinac Island, is also one of its most haunted. Also, it's listed as one of the most haunted states, with a rich, violent, and colorful history. Mackinac Island is a prime candidate for hauntings. Oh, I love it, I love it. This is where I get excited, yes. It's said that the islands essentially amounted to a huge Native American burial ground where a military fort was built and many were killed. Yeah, I can see that after my history, learning the history. Mackinac Island topped the most haunted small town in America on the Shadowlands Haunted Place Index, with 3,347 haunted locations, which is about 9 times more than any other U.S. city with a population of under 100,000. From the battles fought among the Native Americans, the French, the British, the Americans, to shipwrecks that have occurred over the years, to a string of tragedies among residents and visitors, there are a number of legends that amount for many haunted locations. And we're going to go into detail, full detail, on 2 of these. Well, actually it's 3 because I couldn't stop myself on one. We're going to go into the full detail on these locations and small detail on others, because otherwise this video would have been 5 hours long. And, I was going to break it up, but I thought it would totally take away from this video. So if you see one that you really like and you want me to make a video on the whole entire thing, comment below which one you want me to make a full video on. But we're going to go into a little bit more detail right now. We're going to start with the Innet Stone Cliff. But before we do, make sure you hit that like button and help me get out into the algorithm. The beginning of this is information on the Innet Stone Cliff in case you're interested in staying there and visiting Mackinac Island. This polished B&B is set in an elegant Victorian mansion overlooking the Straits of Mackinac. It's 2 miles from both the ferry docks and Fort Mackinac. That might be a little too close to the fort for me. So it sits on a high bluff near the airport on the west side of the island. It's a popular wedding destination. It's said to be haunted by a ghost servant and a little girl, as well as a woman whose fiancé, who was a British soldier, died before their wedding. It's said that she wreaks havoc of some of the wedding ceremonies. Some have encountered lights turning on and off by themselves, but most speak of this ghostly bride. Next, we're going to get into the drowning pool, or what some call the drowning pond. And as you can tell, it has a little something to do with some witches. Or maybe it doesn't. Question for Shannon. Shannon, have you ever been to the drowning pool? Unfortunately, I have never been to the drowning pool, which this place is over by Arch Rock. That place, from what I have been told, is very haunted. So here's just a little image of where it is and what it looks like. And if you pay attention, it almost looks like a witch hat. Kind of interesting, huh? So, 7 women were accused of enticing unsuspected soldiers, fur traders, and husbands to their houses. In the 1700s and early 1800s, 7 women were accused of being witches. Back then, one of the methods used to determine if someone was a witch or not was to tie rocks to their feet and throw them into the water to see if they would float or not. Another way was to put them onto a plank and lower the plank. If they sank, they were deemed innocent. If she died, it was determined that she was mortal. The 7 accused women were thrown into the lagoon on the island between Mission Point and downtown Mackinac. All of them sank and drowned. If they lived, it would be deemed that they were a witch, and then they would be hung. Legend says the women haunt the waters to this day. Visitors report seeing mysterious splashing and dark figures floating above the surface. Seems like either way, someone is gonna die. Someone also says that some have also said that they have seen shadows come out of the water. Yeah, if I saw that, I'd be running for the hills. During my research, and you know I go deep into it, I searched for the witches at Mission Point in the 1700s or 1800s, and I was not able to confirm that there were witches at Mission Point. But who knows, it may not have been documented, and so many have said the same story about this location. Also in the late 1700s, a man got tangled up in the seaweed and drowned here. It's said that the bottom has a sharp drop-off of approximately 20 feet and a lot of seaweed. The good news here is that they weren't witches. The bad news is that they are very vengeful spirits who haunt the dark waters of the lagoon. This is considered to be one of the scarier and malevolent places on Mackinac Island. This is a place that I don't think I would go to at night, but I would be very interested in going and seeing and just, getting like a feel for it. Like, this is one of those places like my video Mary's Grave where you have to go, but you go during the day, and then eventually you go at night and you're like ready to shit your pants. But this is definitely a place that I would love to go check out. Fort Mackinac. I was not expecting what I found when I was doing my history research, and Honestly, couldn't help myself. I went a little further into detail than I was expecting on this one. But if you're looking to visit here, here's the information, and because of the season, it's closed now. Historic Fort Mackinac. Mackinac Island has been called the most historic spot in the Middle West. Fort Mackinac was first built by the British in 1780 to 1781. It was not until 1796, 13 years after the end of the Revolutionary War, that the British relinquished this fort to the Americans. At the outbreak of the War of 1812, the British seized the island and built Fort George. This fort, which you see to the north, beyond the rifle range. It was renamed Fort Holmes, which we'll get into next, by the Americans who reoccupied the island in 1815. Troops garrisoned Fort Mackinac until 1895. But the stories and the hauntings behind this place are not what I expected whatsoever. So here we go. Fort Mackinac is steeped in death. In addition to loss of life from battle or massacres that occurred, there were also those who died in the hospital, often because treatment at the time was crude. The hospital saw death of not only soldiers, but at least 13 children of the soldiers, and they died because of typhoid fever or tuberculosis. All the bodies were buried at the nearby Fort Mackinac Post Cemetery. The British built the fort in 1780, Revolutionary War era. Fort on the island and a popular tourist site. Visitors have reported strange orbs in photos. In the hospital, some have felt feelings of sadness and have seen apparitions of phantom limbs that show up in photos, as well as smelling the scent of death. Yo, I don't think so. I was like at first kind of like, yeah, I want to go see this place, but yeah, second thoughts. Wow. The sound of crying babies is often heard along with mysteriously moved furniture, and motion detectors are set off with no one around. At the officers' stone quarters, ghostly children are said to be playing with toys, leaving them around on the floor in the morning. This building now houses the kids' quarters at Fort Mackinac, and staff are the ones reporting the toys out of place in the morning, after knowing they were always cleaned up the night before and put them all away neatly. The halls of Fort Mackinac often echo with the spectral laughing or giggling of children. The Officer Hills apartment quarters often experience moving furniture that slides about and sets off motion detectors, as well as flickering lights. But the worst is the chilling sound of babies crying in torment. Oh my goodness. I don't even know if I would want to walk by this place, and I'm not even done yet, and I left a lot out because I realized that I was really getting into this, but I might make a whole video just on Fort Mackinac because this is just insane. Also, the apparition of a woman can be seen sometimes weeping at the grave of one of the children who died there. I would lose it. I would run so fast if I ever saw that. The guardhouse, specifically the dungeon jail, is known to have sudden cold spots, even in the heat of summer. Orbs are frequently captured on camera. Here it's said to be that of a long deceased prisoner, still wallowing in his cell. At the rifle range trail, there is an apparition dressed in an old-fashioned uniform. It's said to be the ghost of James Brown, who was executed here. It said he follows people by stepping on the back of their shoes. Oh, hell no. Oh my God. Oh my God, I would lose it. I'd be trying to run at the same time. Oh my God. The sound of phantom rifle firing can also sometimes be heard. If something stepped on the back of my shoes and I turned around and there was nothing there, either my husband would have to pick me up off the floor because I passed out, or I'd be like, feet don't fail me now. My husband would be trying to figure out where I went. Holy crap, that would be insane. Oh my God. Wow. Other instances around Fort Mackinac include personal belongings being moved around, reports of disembodied voices, holy cow, speaking the native language of Ojibwa. That is wow. So guys, there is so much that I could go into on Fort Mackinac, but like I said, I might just make a whole video on that. That's insane. Oh my God. All right, let's get ready to get into the next one. All right, so I want to know who's ready to take a trip to Mackinac Island. I don't know about me. Let's go to Fort Holmes. Here's the information on Fort Holmes, the address, and I do have a map of the location in case you want to go. The phone number is provided right there. This way, if anybody is interested in checking these places out, you have the information. Fort Holmes, here in 1812, on the highest point, a blockhouse and stockade were built by the British and named Fort George. It was the bulwark of British defense in 1814, when the American attack was repulsed. After the war, the Americans renamed the post in honor of Major Holmes, who was killed during the American assault in 1814. The fort was not maintained by the Americans, however. The present blockhouse is not the original building. So they did rebuild it, they restored it, and from what I read, it's an absolute beautiful place to go and visit. So if you're interested, I mean, so much on this island is absolutely gorgeous. So it might be worth taking a trip. There are many accounts of ghosts being seen inside Fort Holmes. The restored British stockhold at the top of Mackinac Island's highest point. It's said to be a regular spot for stargazing. You know, me and my husband, we love the meteor showers. That would be so cool. Wow, that would really be cool. But many have reported seeing 3 soldiers conversing at the top of the roof, and then poof, they disappear as if they had been startled. Fort Holmes is on the island's highest point. British soldiers War of 1812, cannons were placed right behind Fort Mackinac, forcing it into an unconditional surrender. A blockhouse and stockade were built by the British and named Fort George. It was the bulwark of British defenses. In 1814, when the American attack was repulsed, after the war, Americans renamed the post in honor of Major Holmes, which I already told you, but I was just kind of reinforcing it. Hey guys, before we get into the next one, don't forget to hit that like button for me, okay? I'm going to introduce you to Lucy. A young girl with curly hair wearing a light-colored sundress, known as Lucy, has been seen in many locations through the years on Mackinac Island. Some say you can hear her voice calling, "Mommy, Daddy." She has been seen following people on the staircase at Crow's Nest Trail by Anne's Tablet. She has also been seen peeking out the windows at Pine Cottage and several occasions during the Haunts of Mackinac tours. Not much is known on Lucy, like how she died or why she haunts the island, except that some have said that the story of Lucy is she became sick on the island and her parents had to leave to take care of something in Detroit, some kind of business. Lucy died while they were gone before they got back. Most of the time, it's said Lucy is found on the balcony of Mission Point, as well as, on occasion, in the theater or auditorium. I don't know about anybody else, but children scare the living hell out of me. So Lucy kind of creeps me out a little bit more than the rest of them. The haunts of Mackinac tours. I keep pronouncing it Mackinac, I'm sorry. Here is the information in case you do go there and you're interested in taking one of these tours. Here's the information for you. So the Mackinac Tours is a tourist attraction in Mackinac Island. It's located 7416 Main Street in Mackinac Island. I gave you the phone number. It offers 4 different tour packages. The first is the downtown tour. The second is the Mission Point tour, which we're going to get into very shortly. The third is the midnight tour. And the fourth is the haunt, which for the haunt, it's limited to age 18 and older. Visitors are actually giving ghost hunting equipment to go out and find evidence of the supernatural. That's kind of cool. I kind of like that. Next, we're going to talk about Arch Rock. Now, Arch Rock is the one I almost missed. Here is the information in case you decide to go on a trip and check out this absolutely gorgeous area. I was blown away by how gorgeous it is. Here's a question for AJ. Have you ever been to Mackinac Island? And if so, where did you go? And did you have any experiences at all? And this is how I found out. I have only been there twice, once as a child on a school field trip, and then in my early teens. I walked all the way around the island and stopped at Arch Rock. And when I was there, I experienced a big sense of fear, as if someone was there, but not seen. I was told later on that I probably experienced the ghost of a young woman that committed suicide by jumping off the top of the arch. It is said that her lover left her and she could not bear being alone. That is all that I personally experienced, and no, I have never stayed on the island. Now, I, of course, did some more research after finding out, and it's not like they broke up, but her boyfriend, or whatever he was, didn't come back from war. Arch Rock is the most iconic natural feature on Mackinac Island. Arch Rock is a limestone formation that was carved out naturally over thousands of years by the gales of Lake Huron. The rock has several legends, and as you just saw, I heard about this rock by AJ. Thank you so much, I almost missed it. He told me about the experience he had there on a field trip and how it may have been a young woman who committed the S word, jumping off the top of the cliff over a broken heart. Centuries later, a limestone outcropping of 145 feet above the water formed. Some call it Lover's Leap. I researched it and found a legend of a native girl who was waiting for her lover to come home after he had left for war. But when the tribe came back without him, she realized he was killed in battle. Distraught, she jumped off the rock, taking her own life in an attempt to join him in death. Some tribes believed Arch Rock was an eternal bridge that the deceased could cross over to another realm where their souls could find eternal rest in the caves. Native Americans believed Arch Rock to be a place of spiritual power, achieve immortality, and beautiful bodies. Arch Rock represents the mythical charm that makes Mackinac Island such a romantic place to visit. Now, there's not much of a haunting story there, but the story behind this rock and the formation, it's a true love story, so I had to add a little something special in there. I do have a question for Shannon. Shannon, have you ever stayed on Mackinac Island overnight or for a period of time? If so, how long did you stay and where? Shannon responded, "No, I have never stayed on the island, but where you can stay is at the Grand Hotel. All the visitors that stay on the island, that is where you stay. There is a taxi form there, which is a carriage with horses that will carry you and the luggage. At times the governor stays there and walks the bridge on Labor Day." That's pretty cool. I really like that. So before we get into the Grand Hotel, Shannon, we're going to get into Mission Point Resort. Now, so many have said that the Grand Hotel is the spookiest and the scariest, but I beg to differ a little bit. I would say Mission Point has it. Mission Point Resort was a home to the Moral Realignment, a religious movement started in the 1930s. The resort's popular ghost story is that of a man named Harvey. This one we're going to get into in full detail, and there is just so much, and I honestly don't think I would ever stay here. Mission Point Resort has gone through many changes since its beginning in 1827. The resort, which is high on a bluff on the east side of the island. The Mission Point Resort is a summer resort hotel. Some history. You guys know I love history behind stuff. It's located at 6633 Main Street, Mackinac Island in Michigan. The earliest buildings of Mission Point Resort originated from moral realignment concepts between Michigan Governor G. Menon Williams and Dr. Frank Buckman in the 1950s. Since then, the resort buildings had been transformed to Mackinac College in 1966, which is exactly where Harvey comes into this. Then it became a religious retreat and educational institution in 1970. In 1972, the buildings had transitioned into a vacation resort property in 1973 and was renamed Mission Point Resort in 1987. The resort has 239 rooms, 4 restaurants, and 1 bar. Construction started in 1954 and it was completed in 1958. Mackinac Island's most haunted hotel. And I have to agree with that because many say that the Grand Hotel is, but after this research, I'd rather stay at the Grand Hotel than at the Mission Point. Absolutely. Mission Point Resort has gained a reputation over the decades as being one of the island's most haunted locations. It's considered to be the best on the island for experiencing paranormal phenomena. Yeah, I can believe that. Mackinac College, which is also Humbird, 1966 to 1970, was a non-denominational Bible college briefly owned and operated by the Cathedral at the Rex Humbird Development Center on Mission Point, Mackinac Island in Michigan. The college closed due to financial problems and sold in 1973 after the graduation of 1970 when it had originally sold. Buildings of the 21-acre Mission Point Mackinac Island campus included residence halls, laboratories, classrooms, the conference center, which was built in 1967, a library that was built in 1966, a theater, which was built in 1955, which is a place that they say you can find Lucy, a film studio, which was built in 1960, kitchens and dining halls, as well as the historic Mission House. The development center also included 190-acre Stone Cliff Estate. In 1973, it became a summer resort complex. It sold in 1977, named Mackinaw Hotel and Conference Center. In 1987, it sold again and is now the Mission Point Resort. Now, I told you we were going to talk about Harvey. Many guests at Mission Point have had encounters with a rather rambunctious spirit known as Harvey, whose room when he attended college was located where the staff quarters at the hotel are now. The story of Harvey, whose real name is not Harvey, his name has been kept private by his family, and I can respect that. So anyway, Harvey was once a student at the Mackinac College, the short-lived Mackinac College, which operated on the island from 1966 to 1970. It was a private liberal arts college and was only opened for 4 years. Prior to being the college, it was an MRA camp that stood unused for almost 1 year prior to the college. The school was granted a charter from the state of Michigan in 1965. So back to Harvey. It said that Harvey was in love with a student at the college, but things took a tragic turn. Harvey went missing one winter, and his body was found in the woods behind the property. The following spring, which was approximately 6 months later, it seemed to be an apparent choice to end one's life with a bullet to the head. You all know I can't say the S word on YouTube. So, yeah. It said evidence from the scene suggested 2 shots. Some believe Harvey was a victim of murder, possibly by a jealous boyfriend that was dating the person Harvey was interested in. Some say he jumped from a cliff behind the resort and his girlfriend broke up with him. But most of the stories say it wasn't a girlfriend, just that it was somebody that he was really interested in. Supposedly, Harvey was a big flirt and a prankster as well. Harvey is known to creep through Mission Point Resort rooms, get into bed with guests, as well as jump on the mattresses. It's said he scares you to death to get a good laugh. Harvey is also said to frequent Mission Point's highly haunted theater, poking and pinching female guests and making himself known through other ways to elicit laughs. Some guests have said they have heard unexplained sounds as well as gunshots and humming, speaking but not being able to hear or make out what the words were, moving objects, footsteps in the hallway. When the hallway is empty, screams, and even the shadow of a person. It's also said that the spirits of many children are at this hotel. Many guests report seeing the spirits of children who died on the property during a tuberculosis outbreak in the mission's early days. The infected children were quarantined in a cellar to protect the rest of the population. Few survived. There is also a room at the Island House Hotel with a bed that shakes so frequently and violently that it has been bolted to the floor and also to the wall. It's not known if this has anything to do with Harvey or not. Adding to the group of Harvey, we have added Lucy and other children, and there are apparitions of soldiers who are sometimes reported to be seen wandering around the resort. I don't know if I'm alone, and I've said this before, but children seriously creep me out more than adults. Okay, so yes, this is creepy enough to make me not stay here. Hell no. I was so creeped out doing this resort that I kept getting chills. Well, I just don't think I'll ever go near Mission Resort. Ever. We're going to get into the Grand Hotel next, and this one is supposed to be more haunted than the Mission Resort. But if you ask me, I don't know. I think the Mission Resort is definitely more haunted. And last but not least, the Grand Hotel. Come on everyone, hit that like button for me. Help me get this video out into the algorithm so others can find it. Here we go. The Grand Hotel was built as a luxury venue. Many believe this beautiful Grand Hotel is the primary focus of ghostly phenomena. The Grand Hotel is a historic hotel built in 1887. Advertises itself as having the world's largest porch. The Grand Hotel is well known for a number of notable visitors, including 5 U.S. presidents, inventor Thomas Edison, and author Mark Twain. The presidents were Harry Truman, George H.W. Bush, John F. Kennedy, Gerald Ford, and Bill Clinton. The hotel opened on July 10, 1887, and took a mere 93 days to complete. Its opening nightly rates at the hotel ranged from $3 to $5 a night, equivalent to $90.48 or $150.80 in 2021. On June 29, 1989, the hotel was made a historic landmark. The Grand Hotel is essentially seated above a massive burial ground, and this is what makes it supposedly the most haunted hotel on the island. It was originally home to indigenous people, most who were buried on the island. After its transformation into a military fort, the island saw even more deaths and burials, created a huge burial area where the hotel now stands. During my research, I came across an article that stated, legend states that during the construction of the Grand Hotel, builders uncovered so many bodies that they couldn't keep track of all of them, and eventually decided to continue building without removing the remains. So they built the hotel over all of the bodies. That makes my skin crawl. Now this is just a legend, but remember, it only took 93 days to build this hotel. Comment down below, do you think there is any truth to that? It was written in so many different areas about that. Many paranormal reports have been claimed over the years, such as seeing a woman in Victorian clothing roaming the halls at night or even crawling into bed with a hotel staff. There is said to be an evil entity that appeared to a group of maintenance workers in the hotel theater. One claimed he felt a presence and looked up to see a dark shadow marked with 2 glowing red eyes, which rushed toward him and knocked him out, sending him to the hospital. The man never went back to the Grand Motel again. I would have left the state. Forget the damn hotel. I would have been gone on a jet plane. You'd never see Missy again. Seriously, I would have been out of there so fast I wouldn't even need a plane ticket. Oh my God. Wow. Another sighting happened in a piano bar. Many people reported seeing an old man smoking a cigar and wearing a top hat, only to be seen in one specific section of the room. Okay, I was done after the Victorian woman climbing into bed with people. I would have left my bags, found a horse, and rode out of town to the nearest boat. I love urban legends, but this is way too much. Yes, I'm chicken, but I do love going and seeing these places and getting a feel for them. And I'm always terrified, but I still like to go. Seriously, would you stay here or at any of the other hotels? Or am I the only chicken? Comment down below. I seriously want to know. So many say Mackinac Island is an absolutely beautiful island and a must-see, and that includes Shannon and AJ. When booking your vacation here, though, remember, you are never really alone. The ghosts that surround Mackinac Island are always watching. Again, I want to thank Shannon and AJ for telling me about this amazing island and for telling us all your experiences. Till next time, thank you for watching and for continuing to support my channel. Don't forget to hit that like button to help get my video out in the algorithm so others can enjoy it. Sleep well.